Hello, everybody. Welcome to our listeners and audiences. Super excited to bring the third podcast of the series, Quality of Work Life. It is a topic that has gained so much priority and importance over the last 2 years. We have with us here today Rajesh Rao from Honeywell, Nupur Lahoti from Zyeta, and myself, Dwanisha, hosting for you again. I'd like to add a little bit of a note about Rajesh. Rajesh Rao is a national leader in Honeywell who heads enterprise sales and strategic accounts. He has more than 15 years of experience, worked with corporations such as Schneider Electric and United Technologies. He has also been a serial entrepreneur who has managed three startups in the past, which is why we have with us here today for him to throw light on the particular subject. Welcome, Rajesh, and welcome, Nupur.
Thank you, Dhwani. Thank you, Nupur, for having me on this podcast. That was some introduction. So I'm more than happy to join this podcast and share my insights of this.
Nupur is a workplace strategy expert with us, and she's been on a couple of webinars and podcasts with us earlier today. But this subject is of keen interest to her because she's an advocate for quality of work life and how employees must be treated and why it is important itself. Bringing to context, right? While the subject itself is new in corporate circles, the employee-centric world today cannot be overlooked. We have spoken a lot about employee experience, and quality of work life is in fact tied to happier employees, but also to subsequent business growth and business results, right? When the quality of work life is stable, productivity is bound to increase. So does the level of employee retention. All in all, it seeks to benefit employees, their families, and the organization as well. So tell me, Rajesh, and Nupur, of course, why has quality of work life become so important? How has it become such a hot topic? And I feel that there is this dire need to address it.
So quality of work life. Of course, this is hot topic indeed. This is a trending buzzword in the organizations of late, isn't it? See, according to me, in simple words, quality of work life is nothing but a degree of satisfaction of an employee to meet his or her personal needs while employed in a firm. Now, the need of this particular quality of work life has grown immensely because of our lifestyle, because of paradigm shift when it comes to the new modern era generation and how these talent pool are looking towards being employed in a company. So of course, I echo with you, quality of work life is something organizations are putting it at the center of running a good ship. All successful organizations are taking this pretty seriously.
So talking about the QWL, I would say, organization also need to understand one thing, that the personas at work are changing at a rapid pace. So if I say that the people who are working today are more of a knowledge worker kind of people. So they are not working for material needs, but they are actually working for quality of work life. They don't have to take care of their basic living needs, or they don't have to take care of their basic standard of living, but they need to take care of the quality of work life. They want to create an impact into the society. So since this shift is really rapid, and if you see all the millennials, they want to create an impact. There should be some impact when they are working. So the entire setup around our policies and processes need to be derived from more of a qualitative approach instead more of a quantitative approach.
Absolutely, Nupur and Rajesh. I completely agree with what you both have to say, right? This has been a gradual generational shift and a mindset shift. Excellent point about the fact that workers today have become knowledge workers, and everybody is here to make an impact. Everybody is here to make a difference. Some places like the third world countries, the importance may be on still something like in India itself we say duty pe ja rahe hain, right? Or we're going for duty or going for work, which means that the times and the era from the past used to speak about how work is a duty, it's a responsibility. You go there to make a living and you come back to fulfill your needs and responsibilities towards your family. Today, work has changed. Definition of work has changed. We are working for self-satisfaction. We're working to make an impact. We're trying to make a difference to everything that we're doing, and every employee thinks about personal growth, thinks about gains, thinks about knowledge and learning from the firm that they are in. yes, I'm not saying every employee is the same, but there is a general shift towards this trend, which is why they start giving importance to their personal goals, their personal uh, uh, requirements, and the employee's overall goal is slightly diluted. Rajesh, this is where I would like to ask you, where do you see that we can make sure that an employee and a business can work hand in hand? How do you measure in an organization, or how do you ensure that there is higher engagement or higher productivity when employees place themselves at the kind of importance that the employer is placing themselves at?
Yeah, see, before I answer that, let us quickly understand what is this shift in thought process that has happened in the recent years, right?
Right.
So if you look at the era of 70s, 80s and all, the needs were very different then. Have a secure job, have a house overhead. If I'm doing well in life, have a second house and things like that. The needs were very clear. There was kind of a blueprint that everyone carried. Then came the IT revolution, where people wanted to have better lifestyle, have good cars instead of having multiple assets, one good posh house. So that is where the focus shifted. Now recently, last 3-4 years after this startup world came into limelight, a lot of rules have been rewritten. Now the way millennials are thinking, or at least the new era, the talent pool that we are seeing, they are more engaged, or the importance, as Nupur mentioned a while ago, it's about what is the quality of life. They're least bothered about asset creation and all. It's more about, do I work in a place where I get respect? Is my manager invested in my growth path? Is my company giving me enough platform so that I flourish to the best of my abilities and all, right? So when the thought process comes towards this, that is both good as well as bad from different perspectives. Why is it good? You have extremely productive people, talented people with a lean team organization which has better outcomes. Now, on the flip side, it is very difficult to retain such talents. Someone who doesn't mind, letting go a couple of lakhs but go to another place where he's happy. You always need to be invested, both in terms of career progression of that particular employee, as well as you need to have that emotional connect with it and create that environment of happy work culture and things like that. So there is a major shift what has happened. Now coming back to how do we keep the employees engaged and make them more productive. See, the fundamentals of business remains the same throughout, right? Any organization wants to be profitable. They want to have low attrition, at least with the talented people. They want to keep them, and they try to find an act of balance between short-term and long-term goals of a company. Now, to stay profitable, one of the parameters is to control your fixed cost and improve your team's efficiency or productivity. Now, this is where culture, people, creating common goals comes into the picture. How do I maintain a lean team and maximize the output? That is what startups have taught a lot of big organizations. Big organizations now started thinking like startups, right? So the trick is, how do you keep your team happy? How do you keep them satisfied? Now, different organizations have different practices, different work cultures to keep employees happy. Some of them are into this reward and recognition schemes. Some of them have personal one-on-one engagement on regular basis. Some of them create a great work environment. Of late, all this well ratings, certification is on the rise. That's another buzzword when it comes to developing new offices. At least I can give thought process from Honeywell perspective. What is it that we are trying to do to keep employees engaged and motivated? So what we do here is we do have monthly and quarterly recognition program. That is one drive that we do to acknowledge talent, hard work that people are doing. Quarterly feedbacks is something we work on. Earlier, what used to happen at the end of the year, you get into appraisal and have a dialogue. So we have realized now you don't wait till the end of the year. You can sit with the employee every quarter, and we divide it into two conversations. One is called dialogue. In dialogue, what do? We try to understand from team member saying, how do I ensure you succeed with the task given to you? How can I help you out? So that is our dialogue program. Then a second conversation is something called as looking forward program. So what do we do of that? That we don't talk about work, tasks, goals and all. We simply want to understand from the team members saying, what is your career aspiration? Where do you see yourself 2 years, 3 years down the lane, and how can I help you as your manager? I cannot promise, but at least I can give you a shoulder so that you grow fast. So when you do such programs, right, that is when an employee or a team member feels invested, as if he's scared, right? Someone is invested in my career growth too. I think that is one of the key things that really keeps an employee within the organization, sets a good working culture. Not only that, it is not just a manager and employee. In fact, this is to all the levels. We also have something called as skip level meetings, where manager once in a while he sits with the employee and tries to understand how can he help further his career progression. So this personal touch, the moment it comes, right, at the end of the day, what is a happy culture? At the end of the day, when you bring that emotions, family culture within the organization and you make the journey happy, that is very important to anyone. Money, designation, these are of course certain things which are important, but the way currently people are thinking, they want to be emotionally invested. So quality of work life is a process in an organization which enables its members at all levels, right, to participate actively and shaping an organization, be it methods or outcomes. And of course, this culture is top-down driven. These are my views. Maybe Nupur, Dhwani, you can share your thoughts too.
Right, I actually completely agree with you, and I'm very, very happy that you've brought on this topic about being invested in your employees' growth. I'll be honest with you, a lot of talk in the industry right now has been surrounded around the need to create engaged employees for culture driving, right? Yes, I believe in creating a cultural unity amongst all of your employees to make them associate with the brand. But that is not the most important thing, according to me. This investing in your employees' growth, I personally also feel is the most important thing, right? Ensuring that your employees are A, satisfied, B, doing what they like to do, C, understanding them on a personal level and enabling their strengths to enhance them, and seeing how their weaknesses can be molded or be done away with it to make them better for themselves or otherwise, right? That is what is going to make an employee stick around, which is why also this whole startup culture where these things actually happen, right, is taking priority over association with big brands like Microsoft or Google. Also, especially in the technology industry, we've seen so many talented, experienced either millennials or younger generations actually take the leap towards a startup, because that startups have started focusing on personal growth and investing individually in their employees. Yes, there is, and see, let's be honest, right? It's not like the work-life balance is the best in startups. Most people that you talk to will say we work around the clock. We sometimes work over the weekends. We do have hours that are not fixed, which means that while I can take off when I can, I have to work whenever I'm required to work. A lot of times work happens up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., wee hours of the morning, but they'll take their mornings off and they'll enjoy it. So this is just to say that when you have the capability to have flexible work hours, an employee is willing to do everything that he can do for the company if his personal goals are being met, which is the most important thing for everybody right now. And yes, this is not to say that I think sometimes this also brings a challenge to people who cannot work like that, right? There are people who need to have fixed work hours. Today, mothers, elderly people, people with more familial or personal responsibilities find it difficult to work around the clock, find it difficult to speak about the flexible hours, because for them it's easier to have fixed hours, to have routines and schedules. and things like that. But that is where this culture still works even better, because you are saying that if you need to work a certain way with a fixed schedule, go ahead and do it. Or if you need to work a certain way without a fixed schedule, go ahead and do it. The choice is yours, the control is yours, the growth is collective, and the work is going to be individual contribution. This is where I think the culture is changing and thriving, looking towards the future. What I feel happens is when large companies don't break themselves up into smaller groups of people, right? They're looking at large teams of 100, 200 people, and a sort of, yes, everybody has become flat as an organization today and everybody talks about it. But what happens is when the groups are that large, then the focus of your leadership or your management on individual employees becomes a little more scarce, which means that we either need to have a few more people sitting in the mid section between your leadership and your employee sets or team sets to manage and enable individual growth, or B, you have groups that are so much smaller that everything is self-sustainable and everything is automatically taken care of, just like in a startup. It's we are now decentralizing, or in a generation where we are deactivating large groups and large modes, right? Breaking it up will probably enable or help to make your culture drive a little more better. And that's my personal view from a lot of conversations we've had with clients and colleagues within the industry itself.
A while ago you were saying this, see, to be very honest, the startups that have come, they have rewritten the rules. They have changed the entire thought process of how an organization can be run. See, a couple of people, 8 to 10 people, how are they posing threat to big organizations which have hundreds of people? How is that happening? Because these are set of people who are extremely passionate about what they want to do. Now, how do you bring that? There's no blue book or set of rules how you can recreate that. So it's all about people now, right? Having a common goal, having a common vision, running towards it. So in today's world, I think there is a very thin line that is differentiating between, what is work life and personal life. If you look at the top talents who are, first of all, scarce out there, they are ambitious to grow, whether it's depth or breadth of their career, right? They are very clear what they want. They have their roadmap figured out, and they work relentlessly to achieve these goals, right? And as long as you keep such people within your organization, as an organization, you're way more productive as well. So let me give a couple of examples. You see these passionate people working on Saturdays, Sundays, even when the organization doesn't ask them. You see people who have this out of office notifications, but within 10 minutes you see him or her reply. Work has become such an obsession that it's the fear of missing out. How do I keep my customers happy? How do I reach these goals and all? So there is crazy change when it comes to the thought process, how people are trying to do work, how they're obsessed with work, how they want to put the best foot forward and all, right? This is where employer or coach or leader, whatever you call it, plays a very big role. How does he ensure, employees are continuously motivated and engaged? How do I keep such passionate people self-propelled throughout the year? Now that is easier said than done. That's actually a big challenge for a lot of, managers to handle such people. And I totally agree with you. You said that flexibility has to come, whether it's an organization or whether it's a coach. If someone is working on Saturdays, Sundays, let's say the employee wants to go for a parent-teacher meeting, one of the weekdays, you have to be flexible to all of that, right? There are no more rules as such. As long as you're working towards a common goal, it's done within the timeline, pat each other on the back and move on. That is the new culture journey that I have noticed.
Yeah.
Not just startups, all the big MNCs are adapting this culture.
Absolutely. Just 2 years back or 3 years back, even when I had to go to the bank, I was writing an email to the team saying I'm going to be half an hour late, or I'm going to take half a day off because I need to do personal work, I need to go to the bank, or I need to do XYZ. And we don't live in that time anymore. It's just about telling your team I'm available after 5 o'clock today, but I'll working the rest of the evening, don't worry about it, right? We have really transitioned into a more flexible culture, and honestly speaking, a lot of companies are hesitant to accept this culture. There is a lack of trust There is a lack of understanding that the younger generations are very accountable when they are passionate and happy with the kind of work they're doing. So the ones who are struggling to accept the change, who are struggling to trust their employees and give flexibility, who are still of the mindset that only when they come back to the office are they going to work very, very well, those are the firms who are going to struggle with this particular issue of engagement or productivity, right? Because when not trusted, the employee is going to be demotivated to do what they're doing, because he or she is saying today that I'm going to make extra time to do work when required to do, but if I'm not trusted enough, I don't care about it.
Yeah, so see, first of all, change is something that is not easily acceptable for organizations who have been successful a lot of years, right? So that is a big challenge for big organizations. But as we discussed a while ago, culture is always top-down driven. Like, I am okay giving flexibility to my team. But if the organizational rules are written such that even I'm liable to even extend this flexibility, that becomes a problem. Now that is called miss in the culture, or you not adapting to the changes what is happening. But yes, to be very honest, old school thoughts, I think those companies are reducing. A lot of big companies like Microsoft, Google, when they themselves are adapting, I think there is a trend that this flexible work culture, talking about passion, going through the journey as a team and as being a happy unit. I think these are the good things which are happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we've covered the relationship between culture, the relationship between employees. We've covered the whole approach of how to ensure that we are giving employees what they want and keeping them happy, right? What is the observations that you have had from most of the employees that you have worked with, right? What is the satisfaction or dissatisfaction based on different business units? Because of course we are talking about the larger bunch of employees today who are adapting the new ways of working, but also there are teams such as your finance teams, with admin teams, whose work itself, the nature of their work does not allow for a certain amount of flexibility or a certain amount of changes in how they work. So how do you see, or how do you anticipate that their lives will change, or what it is that firms can do better for their sake?
Yes, see, currently at least I can talk on behalf of bigger organizations like Honeywell, right? We are trying to adapt more of this work culture of startups. That is the new change. So company within company within company, that's what is happening. Everything is decentralized. There is one team which is given a goal, which is given a task. How you run the show, how you empower your people, how do you set your own culture, set your own rules to suit that particular team's requirement and all. Companies are becoming flexible. That is one change that I have noticed in big organizations like Honeywell. Do I see satisfaction, dissatisfaction based on business unit, role or work? The answer is yes. Of course, you do see that. People management is not a straight line method. Or as I was telling a while ago, it's not just a blue book to create a perfect team, perfect work, right? Different people have different set of aspirations, different personalities, different personal needs. As a manager or as a leader, you need to attend to all these requirements and keep the employees engaged and focused on the common goal. It's no easy feat, let me tell you that. I think step one is when you have an employee hired, right? Or before you invite someone into the team, your 90% of the work should be taken care of that. Whether you're placing the employee for the right task based on their personality traits and all. Now, at least in Honeywell, we don't do that in ad hoc fashion, right? So there is science behind it. We do our best to have every employee at whatever position. That's what I've seen in a lot of startups also. It's not just HR and the person hiring. It's a business unit head also who gets involved to see, the person who's joining the team is a right fit or not. So I think diversity, the definition of diversity also has changed recently.
Correct.
So to answer your question, I think it's a two-step process. Before someone comes into the team, ensure the person is placed well. Second, once they come in, utilize and adapt based on that person's need to keep them happy. These are my views about, how we run a show within large organizations.
Yeah, so to add to this, I would say even the companies today are offering good level of autonomy to employees to choose their work. We are shifting more towards a flat team structure than more of a hierarchical culture, where you can actually have the autonomy to choose what you want to work with, what you really want to go ahead with this. Is this role is fitting into your thought process or your knowledge base, or there is something else that you can go for? So within your team, you can actually shift your profiles so that you stay more relevant towards your working, and that makes a huge amount of impact when you are working actually, because you know what you really want to work about, and you really work on the things you are passionate about.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the one point being that, there is, like you said, Nupur and Rajesh, it's no small feat to understand for the employee and the employer both how they fit in and how they can harmoniously work together. There is this need to be in touch with your employees when they're new in the organization, or even if they've been around for some time, to communicate and to let them know that it's an experimental process and it is a little bit of a discovery process more than experimentation. It takes a few months to understand, to get the pulse for the employee, to get the pulse of the organization and the team and the role that they've been hired for, and vice versa, right? Post the discovery process, there should be a way in which there are standard check-ins, there are standard quarterly or monthly checkpoints where like you said, Rajesh, the leadership or the management makes an effort to get in touch with your individual employees to ensure that goal alignment is happening, to ensure that there is a job satisfaction, to identify what went right, what went wrong, to ensure that if something has gone wrong, or if something being assigned or given is not in the employee's task bucket or choice of tasks, that it is taken care of, while the employee also can understand that the employer or the firm just wants the best for them. Have that communication and have that understanding about where and how each person fits in to do their best, right? For this, we do recommend all of our clients to take happiness surveys, to map happiness, to map their social progress, to map their power distances, to map their engagements, just mapping those, right? When I say, I'm going to elaborate on each of these for anybody who thinks I'm just talking without context, right? When you map your power distance is the amount of distance between your top leadership and your bottom leadership. Today, in a pyramidal organization, somebody who is at an entry level cannot exactly go and approach someone at the topmost levels, whether it's your leadership or it's your CEO. You generally communicate with one level of leaders above you and one level of employees below you, right? But that's not going to work anymore. It's been proven scientifically that smaller your power distance index, more harmonious the culture and the working and the satisfaction of the employees. The second being social progress itself, which means that on a scale of mapping your personal life, your personal growth, and your placement in your setting. For example, there are employees who like to create a life within the organization, because some of them live like bachelors, some of them move away from their families, some of them want to create a life of their own within the organization, whereas there are employees who have families, who have a set of friends that they want to continuously not be able to miss out on, right? The same application of FOMO, which is where the company should allow for them to have a very graceful social life, because your social life and your social happiness, very much proved by the Indian culture itself, is testimony to the fact that when you are surrounded by people, with people, even for the most introvert of people, it really enables your personal happiness. It really enables the fact that you have someone to communicate with, whether it's inside of the office or outside of the office, and being in touch with those people, or being able to navigate your social life actually enables a happier work environment, right? Then the third thing is your happiness index. It's a general rule of understanding how happy or unhappy your client is at the place from the workplace perspective alone, what's working for them and what isn't working for them. And your engagement index, how engaged your employees are with the firm, how much they believe in your culture, how much they think your culture is just a namesake, and the functions of the office don't really match the culture that employees are told to follow, whether they believe in it and they want to follow it, and whether, for example, how often employees turn up to community events organized by the office, right? Whether work is more important to them or a Friday evening happy hour is more important to them with their teammates. So mapping these different verticals regularly with your employees will actually give you a more holistic picture of where and how each employee is placed. Not only does it give you an idea, it also allows the employee or the user to understand that yes, we are invested in you. We actually care about what you do, where you come from, and where you are aiming to go. And if there's something that you find is a roadblock, then we are here to help you solve your problems. So it works both ways, and it's very, very important today to be able to do that. Nupur, earlier you were mentioning about some ROIs, right? Some takeaways from being this invested in employees. Could you enlighten our listeners about that?
Yeah, of course. The first thing I would like to say, as you said, if you have low power index, if you allow your employees to communicate to each other, one of the most important benefit the organization or this startup organization have is that when people from different cultural backgrounds, different mindsets come together, they come with more of innovative ideas. So all this knowledge sharing, all this storytelling and all those things actually lead you to a very different kind of productive outcomes, which are much, much different than what we see in a hierarchical culture.
Right.
Above that, I think talent attraction and retention is something which is one of the most important topic to address to organizations, where in today's, specifically after pandemic, we are seeing there is a lot of retention which organizations are facing. So talent attraction and retention becomes a prominent factor. So quality of work life can actually enhance that a lot.
Got it. And also innovation is always sparkling, right? When this work life becomes so harmonious and you have the choice between choosing your favorite environment on a day-to-day basis, whether you want to spend more time at home today with your personal friends or at the office with your agony aunts and your office buddies. It's your choice, and that enables you to stay constantly happy. If you have to vent, you have to vent. If you have to discuss an idea, you have to discuss an idea. It makes a lot of difference, sparks innovation.
Yeah, of course, and it results into positive employees' attitudes towards the work and the company, increased productivity if you talk about the overall benefit, and employees remain motivated if they find that their work-life balance and the quality of work life is going well. They remain motivated and they are really passionate about working on the things you are hoping them to work on.
Right. So on a closing note, Rajesh, what do you think is the role of strategy and technology for organizations? Do you think it's important to have a holistic approach towards these, or do you think it's if you take the come and go approach, it's going to enable organizations to thrive?
So obviously, come and go will never work if you want a business that has to sustain, right? So if you have any organization will have both short-term, long-term goals, right? You want to invest in people, you want to groom them. That is both financial as well as bandwidth, emotional investment. So you don't want to let go people. It is with great difficulty that you align people for a common goal. You get each other's wavelength, bandwidth and all. Now, a while ago you were mentioning, right, power of index. It's absolutely true. That is something which is trending off late in all the companies. So some of the buzzwords are open door concept, right? Whether it's a CEO of the company, whether it's a business head, they are approachable to whatever is the hierarchy within the organization, which is a good change. Now, other than that also, a lot of the toughest problem I think is what mid-level managers have. They have to keep the senior management also happy. They have to align with their team members, ensure they are happy, satisfied also. So the school of thought for people manager especially is changing drastically. Let me throw an example. See, old school of thought, when you have a good team, everyone talks about diversity, right? Earlier, the definition of diversity was what? Gender, nationality, age. That's it. You have all these three elements. It's a very diversified team. That doesn't apply anymore, at least to current times. With employee satisfaction being the center of running a successful business, a new perspective is established beyond these three. Let me throw certain example, right? So today, in my team, in my organization, how do we look at diversity within the team? A person can be an extrovert or an introvert. Someone is good at presentation skills. An introvert might be good at, subject, ideas, thoughts, written communication. As a people manager, you need to know what are the strengths and weakness of your team member. See, great talent, people with clarity are there, but they are only 20% of your team who does 80% of your work. What about the other 40-50%? There are a lot of still employees who are still not sure what they want. Now that's a tricky situation a people manager has.
Yeah.
To figure out strengths, weakness, and coach, saying, why don't you work on this? Let me give some more example. Diversity also comes with team members there is one team member who goes only by the facts, right? This is a fact, I'm going to act upon it. You have other team members who are quite intuitive. They view the world abstractly, solve conceptual problems. Then you have thinkers in the team who only care about, cause and effect, rational logic and all. Then you have other set of people who are feelers, human. They think more from human concerns, values, ethics and all. You need to balance both of them.
Correct.
Again, you see a set of people who are very method oriented. You give me a goal, I'll finish it within that deadline. I have a scheduled lifestyle, I'm done. So as a people manager, you adapt to him differently. Now there are other set of people, let life happen, spontaneous. These are your creative people. So unless otherwise you really understand your team well, how else would you coach them or help them, right? So these are some of the challenging times.
Absolutely.
Where for a people manager, as long as he gets it right, he understands his team well, it's only then the happy index, what Nupur was mentioning, right?
And
all these things will come out.
Absolutely. And I really think that it's not easy to become that person who understands every personality, right? It's not like people managers become managers by psychological attributes or by certifications. They become people managers by displaying exemplary people skills and communication skills, right? Today, when a simple example of within a wedding, two people take a few years before they get the hang of each other's personalities and understand it, and still sometimes a husband and a wife spend smaller amount of time interacting with each other in today's times than they do with when they're interacting with their office and their teammates and their work alone. So it's really difficult even for a people manager to overnight understand the pulse of each and every one of their employees. But here is where we're emphasizing the need of that kind of educational training and change management for each one of them to help them understand how to assess their employees and how to work with their employees. Even they would require, when they are going to make the effort to keep their team and every single person on the team happy, even they would need additional assistance and support in helping them do their best and seeing where they're going right or they're going wrong. So it's a very, very engaging process where at every level you have to establish checkpoints and ways to actually make sure every level of employees is able to align themselves accurately with their expectations and do the best that is possible to them. So and like you said, because of the same reasons, a new generation of people managers is going to be born, a new generation of thinkers is going to be born, which is going to result in team managers or team leads who are not just oriented towards the project and the project's end goals, because that's what the current culture is, right? Your scrum teams, your project teams, it's going to be people teams. You will need to have people within the organization who are able to assess psychological aspects and personal aspects of your teams and of your employees. That is going to be very important.
one of the reasons, if you look at the trends also, a couple of years back, some manager used to have 20 reportees, 25 reportees. So if you look at the recent trend, any manager would not have more than 5 to 6 people, max.
Correct.
Because the whole thought process of manager or the definition of manager itself has changed. It is not 5 reportees. It is 5 careers that he has to sit and groom. That is the responsibility put on a people's manager.
Yes.
So the way we are looking at people manager is completely different. And it is just getting more challenging as you progress.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this very enlightening conversation and very insightful from both you and Nupur. Some fantastic points have been brought across, right? I'm really hoping the listeners enjoyed this as much as I did and they had takeaways from it. Just as an ending note, for everybody, workers, regardless of position or status, have been experiencing a certain amount of dissatisfaction with their jobs right now. And it is not only because of the kind of work they're doing, because of the number of hours they're putting into the work. There have been difficulties with the large-scale change that we've had to accept, the staying at home, lockdowns. It takes a psychological toll on you, right? However, it is true that these kind of changes and difficulties cost both individuals and businesses. It's important for us to focus on employee happiness, to focus on employee work-life balance, to inculcate as many surveys, as many checkpoints as possible for your employees, to inculcate change management programs, especially for the leadership and the management who have a very large task at hands, and ensure that the company is able to serve its users and employees just like their own people, ensuring its growth along with theirs as well. Measuring quality of work life aids not only in efficiency but also in effective allocation of resources, and results in higher innovation, higher productivity, and workforce stability. So this is a closing note for me, guys. Thank you so much for listening in, and a great thank you to Rajesh and Nupur for having the conversation with us.
Thanks, Tony. That was such an insightful conversation. I think I have a lot of takeaways from here.
Thank you for having me on this podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to both of you.
Thank you, Rajesh. See you guys. Bye-bye.